So there's two overlapping normal distributions, okay? And the blue ones are women and the red ones are men. And the blue is agreeableness. Like the blue is shifted over to the more agreeable side and the red is shifted over to the less agreeable side. The first thing that you should notice about that isn't that the differences exist. The first thing that you should notice is that almost all of the territory is overlapped. And so what that means is that if you took men and women, if you drew men and women randomly from the population, there'd be a deviation from 50-50 with regards to who was the most agreeable individual. But at least, now let's see if I can get this right. I probably can't because I don't remember exactly the effect size. It's probably about 0.2. Maybe it'd be 60% probability that you draw out a woman who was as more agreeable and 40% probability that you draw out a man, you know, as a deviation from 50-50. So there's lots of women who are more disagreeable than men, and there are lots of men who are more agreeable than the typical woman. But there are differences, and one of the things that's really worth noting when you look at a normal distribution, because this is where things get weird. So you could say, there's not that much difference on average between men and women. But the thing is, the average is often not the relevant issue. The relevant issue is often the extreme. So for example, if you're going to imprison people, so look at that red curve. What you see is that if you, although it's not drawn exactly perfectly, but what you would see if the curve was proper here, is that once you were out here, say where you were only interested in the 1 out of 50 most disagreeable person, all those people would be men. And that's why, partly why, almost everybody in prison is male. So because you don't put people in prison unless they're very extreme, and one of the things criminals tend to be extreme in is their low in agreeableness. Surprise, surprise. They're kind of callous, they're in it for themselves. You know, they're stubborn, they don't care about you one way or another. And if they're low in agreeableness and in conscientiousness, then they don't care about you and they aren't going to play by the rules. That's starting to touch on psychopathy. So you can model psychopathy pretty well with the big five. Low agreeableness, low conscientiousness. So then you get someone who could care less about you, who lies all the time, or who doesn't follow the rules, who won't work. So they have a parasitical lifestyle, which is actually one of the dimensions of psychopathy. A parasitical lifestyle. And yeah, and then if you look over on the other direction and you took the 1 in 50 person who was the most compassionate, then that would be virtually all those people